Hey there, everybody. I hope you're having a good day in your little corner of the world. I've been having a pretty good day in my little corner of the world. Been very busy as usual, but that's a good thing. A lot of things to do and a lot of things to look forward to. I recently saw the trailer of the South Park episode that just came out, I think yesterday. And I haven't seen the whole episode, but I saw a teaser. And let me preface this by saying that I am no South Park expert. I don't really watch the show. I don't really keep up with it. I have seen a few episodes, and South Park has a very crude way of delivering jokes and criticisms about society. And similar to George Carlin, where Carlin would deliver his jokes or his criticisms about society, especially American society, in a very crude way, but it got the audience thinking. And I think when you add some kind of shock value into your jokes or into any kind of rhetoric, you instantly get people's attention because the message doesn't go through subliminally. It's right in your face. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Orange Man has been so successful in his appeal to people, because he had a very crude delivery. His rhetoric was very abrasive, and it got a lot of people thinking. Like, he was able to talk about issues up front. And I'm not saying he's fixed any of those issues, because he hasn't. If anything, he's made things worse. But he addressed in many ways the elephant in the room when it comes to the economy. I'm talking about things like the economy or quote-unquote deep state, even though he's part of the deep state, which is funny. But, things that were considered maybe conspiracy theories in the past, he would address them up front. And even though it's obvious today that he is part of the deep state and he is part of the billionaires that rule the government and that influence the government, and that he's very self-interested. Now that that's obvious, the way that he got where he's at was through his rhetoric. What I'm trying to say is that any type of content that has shock value type rhetoric will get people's attention, and people that don't feel like they are heard will automatically listen, right? Or get thinking. And I think that's what South Park does very well, in my opinion. It criticizes the government. It criticizes many behaviors within American society. And it does it in a very crude, abrasive way that gets people thinking. And I think that's what Carlin did too. He would deliver his jokes in a very crude way so that people could actually pay attention to what he was saying and think, oh yeah, that's true. Why do we do that? Or why don't we do that? Or why is the system built this way? And nowadays it feels like freedom of speech is no longer something that is encouraged in our quote-unquote democracy, although it's not really a democracy anymore, and it's becoming more and more obvious, right? And I think what they did, the South Park producers, they did something that was very brave, which is, in this kind of climate, criticize a government that is shutting people down for being critical of their actions. And this is not the first time that this happens in American society. In World War One, I believe it was Woodrow Wilson that shut down like 70 newspaper companies or something like that. Like there or jailed journalists. So this is not new, but it's new for our generation, like in recent history, right? And we like to think that we have progressed from certain violations that our government, our society committed. But it seems like we regress, right? I'm actually not, well, I'm upset about everything that's going on in the government. But I'm glad, I guess the silver lining, and it's not that I'm glad, for lack of a better term, I guess, it's a good thing, for lack of a better term, that this is all happening, because a lot of people are waking up to the corruption that has always existed in the government. And it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. I remember, like, even 5-6 years ago, criticizing the government and saying that lobbyists were the one that had influence over politicians, and Congress was, and the judges were basically bought and paid for by these lobbyists, was a conspiracy theory. People would say, oh, you're kooky. But now it's obvious, right? Everything that's happening. And so many people are waking up to the reality of the situation, and hopefully it will galvanize us all to change the system. And of course, there's going to be a lot of growing pains, right? Because the system was never working for us, for the people, for we the people. It was never a system that was benefiting the people. And so we're seeing it collapse right before our eyes. And we might, most likely, as a society, we will experience not just economic decline, but also our society will decline, right? Our critical thinking skills will atrophy. But I believe that the pendulum always swings as long as there's people on one side pushing to get it to the other side, right? To get it to swing to the other side. And I think there's a lot of people, more people than we think, that don't agree with what's going on. Even people that voted for the Orange Man. They see what's going on. And I don't see people that voted for the Orange Man as bad or as evil. I think a lot of people got bamboozled, or a lot of people are just plain selfish, in my opinion. If I'm being honest with you, I think that's the problem with America. Our society, and this is because of capitalism, I would argue, the extreme form of capitalism that we've created. And I have nothing against capitalism, because I do think it's important and it will always exist no matter what. I mean, in North Korea, there's this book that I read by Barbara Demick called Nothing to Envy, and how there is remnants of capitalism in North Korea. Through the black market, stuff comes from China, and people trade and barter and things like that, and capitalism will always be a part of our society because we'll always want to trade something for something else that maybe we can't produce, or maybe our geography can't produce those kind of vegetables or make those kind of materials or whatever it is, and we will have to trade. But I think it's turned into this kind of extreme capitalism that doesn't benefit the common citizen. It benefits the 1%. And so I do believe that this society that we've built will collapse, because it's just the way things are, right? And we will go through growing pains. But I like to think of Germany, right? Who would have thought that the Berlin Wall would have ever get destroyed, right? Who would have thought that Germany would be the third or fourth largest economy in the world when this country was drained in debt, like absolute debt. And this is part of the reasons why they entered World War II, because Hitler was able to bamboozle people that he had the solution, right? And so after so much economic despair, look where they are. And I think that's what will happen to America. We will experience a lot of economic despair and just societal decline, but that will make a lot of people realize what's important. It will shake people up from their slumber, and people will realize that this system, this extreme form of capitalism, has made us selfish. And now that people are becoming affected by the Orange Man's actions, everybody, in some way, shape, or form, either through their pockets or through personal experience, are becoming affected by this administration. People are realizing that, okay, I can't just think about myself. I have to also think about others, and other people are my brothers and sisters, right? Other people are part of my tribe. We're part of the same land, same piece of land. We love this land. Freaking love this country. I love this land. I don't love the government. I love the land. It's so beautiful. It's so pristine. It's so raw. It's so diverse. It's so beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful land that we live in. A wonderful, so diverse. You can think of any kind of natural landscape. I've traveled to many countries, and America has nothing to be jealous of, like, because we have everything. And I'm not saying like things aren't, like, this is the greatest country in the world, because it's not, right? But it's got very beautiful natural landscapes, and it's a beautiful land, and everybody that calls themselves Americans or contributes to this society is part of this land, you know? And we have to think about each other. We have to think about our tribe and realize that we have more in common than what divides us. And these politicians are trying to create these divisive issues so that we can fight amongst each other, while they, behind our backs, they're stealing and embezzling money, right? And getting richer and richer and richer. And it's affecting the whole world, of course. But anyway, going back to what I predict, I think this country will experience a decline and will go to the lowest of lows, but we will rise up again. And we will always be relevant. We may not be the most powerful nation anymore, but we will be very relevant, just like Germany is a very important country in the economy of the world. It produces a lot, right? And we will be like that. This country will continue to be that way. but it will experience decline, and then new systems will be created that I hope will be beneficial for all of us. Systems that will allow us to thrive and allow us to live in community and realize that we have more in common than what separates us. And we'll go through growing pains. We'll go through a period of struggle, a period of strife, but it will get better. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be in 10 years from now, but it will get better. And I have faith that it will get better. Things will get better, but we will have to experience the lowest of lows, for sure. And we'll learn from that. Sometimes we have to really trip up and fall down and break our teeth to learn our lesson, to, look where we're walking. Be careful where we walk, right? We have to look around and see if there are any cracks that could trip us up, okay? So if you're a fellow American, my compatriot, or just a random person, a citizen of the world, I wish you all the best, and may you have a happy life. Peace and love. Bye.